hear short remarks by both ministers, after which we will have some time for questions from the media, and the language of the press conference is English. Now I would like to pass the floor to Minister Haavisto. Over to you.
Thank you, and it has been really honor today to host my Portuguese colleague João Cravinho here in Helsinki, and we have of course excellent bilateral relations between two of our countries, and we are ready to intensify our bilateral political dialogue and economic cooperation also in the close future. We know that there is a growing interest in Finland in Portugal's highly educated experts. Our company Nokia, for example, has been investing into Portugal. We are also happy about our forestry cooperation and particularly looking the decarbonizing industries together with Portugal, how to develop the green economy. And today, of course, our discussion also focused very much to latest happening in Ukraine, the Russian aggression against Ukraine, which we condemn strongly, and we also expressed my appreciation to the role of the UN and United Nations Secretary General Guterres, who had played a very fundamental role in trying to find a peaceful solution to this conflict and stopping the aggression. And of course, today we also discussed not only our common policies in the European Union, but the latest issues here in Finland. As you know, Finland is preparing to send a NATO membership application in the coming days, and I had an opportunity to tell to my colleague about the process here in Finland, and we will actually very soon meet again, because Finland and Sweden has been invited tomorrow to Germany, to Berlin, to have a common dinner with the NATO foreign ministers, and of course Mr. Cravinho will be there as well, and we have an opportunity then to discuss those issues. With these words, I would like to pass the words to my colleague Cravinho.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Minister Pekka Haavisto, for your words. Thank you for receiving me here in Helsinki at such an important and intense moment for Finnish foreign policy. Our bilateral relations are excellent. We've identified a number of areas of intensification of these relations. The fact that our recovery and resilience programs have certain commonalities is a good basis for cooperation in the areas of digital and decarbonization of our economies. And we have a good track record of the last few years of increasing our economic context, and we want to continue that, further it over the next few years. The important investment of Nokia in Portugal in the last few years has created about 2,500 jobs, highly qualified jobs, and we look forward to increasing that interaction with such an important and strategic company. On the international sphere, the wider international sphere, of course, we have been discussing the developments in the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which we have expressed our common solidarity with Ukraine and support for its territorial integrity. We, I think, have very similar perspectives on the manner in which it is necessary to develop a new European security order and the application of Finland to join NATO, which Portugal welcomes and supports, will be, I'm sure, the object of a wide-ranging consensus in Portugal when the issue is placed at the discussion of the Portuguese Parliament. So I would like to underline our support, solidarity, and availability to welcome Finland as a new member of NATO. With respect to other international areas, we had the opportunity to discuss a number of multilateral events, including the forthcoming UN Oceans Conference in Lisbon at the end of June, and of course also questions related to the redesigning of Europe's energy security map. And again, these are areas in which Portugal and Finland can find some common ground and work together on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister Gravino and Minister Haavisto. Now we will move to the interactive part of the press conference. The journalists can ask questions by writing your name and your media in the chat box, or simply using the raise your hand function. We have first questions from Reuters. Essi Lehto, you have the floor.
Thank you. So Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan today said that it's not possible for Turkey, which is a NATO member, to back Finland and Sweden joining NATO. How will Finland respond to this, and how big of a risk to the application you see this to be? This from Minister Haavisto. And then for Minister Gravino, what do you think about Erdogan's comments today? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And of course, first of all, we have not yet issued the application, but it's very likely to happen when our parliament has had its debate and possible voting on Monday, Tuesday. And then the process will start with the NATO. There is a certain negotiation process with the NATO authorities. And then after that, the NATO Council will process the issue. NATO has certain rules and certain conditions, of course, according to which it keeps its open door policy. I have been in a regular contact with my Turkish colleague, Minister Çavuşoğlu, during this spring. I have been visiting twice Turkey during the spring, and actually I have an opportunity to meet with my counterpart, probably also tomorrow in Berlin, and then continue our discussion. I think we need some patience in this type of processes, and it's not happening in one day. This is all what I can say at the moment. Let's take issues step by step.
Yes, thank you for that question. On the Portuguese side, we are also very much of the view that with dialogue between us as allies inside NATO and with Finland as a prospective member, that it will be possible to find solutions. I have only seen the headlines. I cannot comment on substance, but I am quite certain that there is a very strong support for Finland and Sweden as well to join NATO, and that any issues can be ironed out over the next few days.
Thank you, ministers. Next question goes to Helsingin Sanomat. Anni Keski-Heikkilä, you have the floor.
Thank you. Minister Haavisto, you have stated previously, for example, this week on Ilta-Sanomat broadcast, that you have spoken with the foreign minister of Turkey and don't expect any problems. How surprised are you by Erdogan's statement today, and what do you think of these previous conversations now?
Well, in this kind of process, you have to expect all kinds of different steps, and also we are dealing with 30 countries, and then later when this issue will be processed in the parliaments, there will be also, of course, a variety of opinions, and we, as I said, we need some patience in this kind of situation, and we have to take things step by step. What I have been telling has been a very good discussions with my counterpart in Turkey, Foreign Minister Çavuşoğlu, and also Turkey has expressed their views, positive views towards Finland in these discussions. So let us see when the process goes on, how the debate is ongoing.
Thank you. Next question, Ilta-Sanomat, Johannes Kotkavirta.
Thank you. I have a question for Minister Haavisto on the same topic as the last question. Like said, you said that you didn't expect any problems from Turkey. So does this mean that you miscalculated somehow this issue related to Finland's NATO process? And also, did you expect this kind of comments from Turkey at this point? Thank you.
Well, in this kind of process, like we have seen some of the comments coming, for example, from Croatia, we see a variety of approaches and variety of topics that countries want to underline in this kind of process, and of course, using also this opportunity to express their political views, and there is a variety of political views also among the NATO member states. So this should not be so surprising, but of course then the final question comes when the countries have to take official position to the application of Finland and Sweden. More than that is at the moment impossible to say.
Next is Yle, Annina Luotonen.
Still on same topic, Erdogan mentioned that he is not so happy with the way Sweden has dealt with the members of the Kurdistan Workers' Party. How do you comment on this?
Well, I don't want to comment actually on issues related to Swedish-Turkish relationship. I'm sure that these countries have bilateral relations and they can deal those issues if there are issues between the countries, between these two countries. As I noticed, there are political viewpoints, political differences among the NATO countries also, and NATO is a defense alliance, and those NATO rules that are in force, according which NATO can take new member states, and those, of course, those rules have to be respected.
Next question from Helsingin Sanomat, Anni Keski-Heikkilä.
Thank you. If Turkey or other countries try to bargain with our NATO process to profit or gain something for themselves, what is your opinion on that? How do you react? Minister Haavisto.
Okay. As I said, we have seen already situations where countries are taking up, when this process is discussed, something that is important for them. And some of these issues are particularly issues where, for example, Finland cannot influence. We understand that issues are taking up, but sometimes there are messages also to other NATO member states or other NATO countries. There is, of course, politics always around this kind of topics, and you have to be prepared for that. And with peaceful discussions and good contacts, most of the problems usually can be solved.
Thank you, Minister. At the moment, I don't see any further questions. We still have a minute. There is still one last question from Reuters. Essi Lehto, please, floor is yours. And I think we have pretty much covered the Turkey issue, so if you have also other questions, they are welcome.
No, sorry, still asking about the same thing. I wanted to ask if you see this as a risk of the membership application possibly not going through.
Are you asking from Finland that?
Yes.
Minister Gravino, could you please specify?
Minister Haavisto and Gravino as well, maybe. How do you view it?
Well, if I start with that, as I explained, there are certain processes in NATO which NATO has to take into consideration, certain negotiations that the applicant countries first have with the NATO. There are certain rules in this kind of processes, and you have to fulfill those rules and those requirements that NATO puts to you. And then process goes on among the NATO countries. This is something that we cannot directly influence. I understand that there is currently quite good operation inside NATO and among the NATO countries, and this is of course something that those NATO countries then are up to decide when they have applications at the table.
Thank you. Yes, I would, to that I would just add the consideration that naturally NATO is composed of 30 sovereign states who individually make their decisions. However, from my experience of discussions inside NATO, there has never been any difficulty with the idea of Finland and Sweden joining, and so I am confident that this will be a process that will develop quite naturally and quite rapidly in the near future.
And we have still one question from Helsingin Sanomat. We can still take this. Anni Keski-Heikkilä.
Thank you. On the same issue, Turkey's Erdogan also accused the Scandinavian countries of being guest houses for terrorist organizations. Minister Haavisto, what do you think he means by this?
Well, I don't want to get now too mixed with the Turkish politics. Of course, it's better that President Erdogan expresses these issues himself and so forth. Of course, regarding if you ask about Finland, we are very strict on all actions against the terrorist movements. We are part of the ISIS coalition and just have been participated in Marrakesh to ISIS coalition meeting and so forth. And I think we share the common fight against the terrorism globally, and we know that this is an important principle as well for the NATO countries.
Thank you very much, Minister Haavisto and Minister Gravino. We don't have other questions online, so I would like to wish everybody a very good afternoon and conclude this press conference here. Thank you.